So hello friends, welcome back to my tutorial, and today we'll be looking at the controllers, views, viewbag and area. So before moving to the practical session of all those things, first of all you need to understand that what exactly the meaning of all these stuffs. So let's start from the controller. So the controller contains particular logic which is executed whenever controller is called. It is also works as the bridge between model and view. So basically all the logical processing can be done at the controller side, and you can write the code which can process your data at the controller, and then the output can be sent to the view, and the view is responsible for your output rendering. So the next thing is views. So the views are used to hold the presentation part of the website, which contains css, html, javascript and all the stuff related to presentation of the data. So you can write all the designing part, and all those things which can be used to interact with the user can be defined into the view. This is how the view works. So the next thing is area. So before moving to the area, first of all we need to understand a scenario. So basically if you are developing a website, so if you are having a three type of users, suppose a guest user, admin and the register user. So basically what people do, that they will create a folder name as admin and store all the files related to the admin inside that admin folder, and doing the same for all those two users for the website. So in ASP.NET MVC we are having a feature in which you can create an area for that particular domain. So basically if you are creating an area for the admin, at that time you are having the separate model view and controller for that area, and same thing for all the users which are registered into the website. So this is how the area works. And the last one is the view bag. So the view bag is used to hold the small amount of data which can render onto the view. For example, you can store page title, some short description about the page and so on. So this is how you can also use a view bag to store the small amount of information inside that view bag, and then later you can use that view bag to render the information onto the views. So let's start a practical session from this video. So I'll be using Visual Studio 2013. So let's start the Visual Studio and then create an application or a project, so we can see the demonstration of all those things. So we will also see the demonstration of the area and all the controller and views demonstration also. So once you are ready with your Visual Studio, click onto the next project, and a screen will be appear where you need to select that from where you want to begin. So as soon as the processing has been completed, the view screen will appear, and you need, I'll be going with the C# version and select web. Inside that web you need to select the ASP.NET web application, and I'll be naming it as CRUD in MVC, as we'll be going to perform the CRUD operation in MVC. And you can also write naming convention just like CRUD in MVC entity, as we will be using the entity framework. So let me just click on the OK, and then you need to select the MVC, as we'll be working with the MVC. So you can click on OK. So let the processing will be finished, and once all the processing has been completed inside the Visual Studio, project structure will be appear into the solution explorer, where we can modify all the things and can work further on our project. So in this tutorial we'll be looking at that how we can create the controllers, create the views, and how we can interact with them. So basically now there are some default views and controllers are also available inside the project, but we'll be remove all those controller and those things, so we can move further on it. So let's wait until the project creation has been completed so we can move further and perform all the things related to our discussion. So it's not basically needed to work with the or you can compulsory need to use the SQL server separately. For the best practice you can go with the integrated SQL Express version, which can also works the same. So but yes, if you are going to develop a big application at that time, I will suggest you to go with the separated version of the SQL server. But in this tutorial we'll be using the SQL Express, which is the integrated with the Visual Studio as you install it. So the project creation has been completed and now we can see the structure of our project. So here are some folders and files are available, and those people who are coming from the traditional ASP.NET background are already also familiar with some of the concept here, just like global.asx file, web.config file. These are the normal daily usage files in ASP, so we will be not discussing those things. So let's start from the app data. So basically the app data is a folder which will be used to store the database related files. You can also store the MDF, SDF, or any database related file or any other data you can store into the app underscore data. The next thing is the app underscore start, which will be used to handle the starting events of your ASP.NET application. So basically we need to mainly focus on to the route config.cs file, as we have only included this file in our tutorial. So as we have discussed earlier, that the route config.cs file contains the default routing from where your application begins to run. So as you can see here, defines that home and index. So this is how whenever the application has been executed, at that time the first routing which will be called is home/index. So basically the home is our controller and the index is our view. So let's move on to the next contain folder. So basically the contain folder contains the .css file and all those stuffs. Even the people are also creating the CSS folder separately and storing the CSS file inside that. You can also do that. The next one is controller, which is the main discussion of this topic. So basically controller, views, and all those things. So basically here already we are having two controllers, and if we'll be moving to the controller, you can see that we name it as home controller, and if we'll be goes into the views folder, you can see the folder name as home. So this is how the controller and views are stored inside the ASP.NET MVC structure, in which it will contains the name of the controller inside the view folder and where all the views are stored. So you can see we are having the index, about, and contact method, and the same views are available according to those methods. So this is how the controllers and views are working together to make our application efficient. So let's go ahead and delete all those things so we can start from the beginning, and we can see that how to create controller and all those things. So I'll be also removing the designing part, so we can work on that too in our next session. So you can delete these things, and this is the error and this is the layout. So I'll be removing all those things, and let me save this layout. This is the error file, let it be as it is. Let's close all those things, and so now we need to create a controller. So just right click onto the controller and then go to the add and select controller. So a screen will appear in which you are having three options to create the controller, and depends on your Visual Studio version. So I'll be having three options to create the controller. The first one is MVC5 controller with empty. So whenever you are going with the empty controller, at that time you need to create your own methods and your own views. You need to write the methods manually, and so on. So if you are be going with the read write actions at that time, when you create a controller at that time, you'll be already having the insert, update, delete, or we can say CRUD operation methods are available. You just need to call them. The last one is entity framework. If you are sure to use the entity framework at that time, you can directly generate the MVC5 controller using the entity framework. So for me, the best option is to go with the MVC5 controller empty version. So I'll be selecting this and click on add. So here are the naming convention where you need to just write the name of the controller, and the rest is taken as it is. So the name of the controller is home controller, but it may possible that you are wondering that how we can call the controller. Do we write the home controller or do we write the home? So basically what will happen that if you want to call the index page, or we can say index method of home, at that time you just need to write home/index, but no need to write the home controller slash index. That thing is already maintained by the ASP.NET MVC application. So we will be name it as home controller, and as soon as the home controller has been created, it will become with the default method index. So we can see here that by default it will be index method, which will be called whenever the controller is executed. So to add views, here we can see we can also define so many other methods, but let's start with the basic view. So this is how a method is created, and to add a view, just right click onto the view and select add view. So here we need to name the view name, and the name can be same as the method name. And the next one is template part. So we'll be not using any template now. So basically what the template is actually, so if you are having a database and you have decided that I'm specific to this template, so just like if you are want to display the data, then you can select the list template, something like this. So you can go with the list template. If you want to create a template for create, then you can create you can go with the create template, same as delete, details, edit, empty, and so on. So once you are go with the specified template, you need to select the model class which are available into your application, and then data context, that from where the data is coming. So now we are not using any model, or I'll be selecting the empty. So we will be move further on that. So view options are available. The first thing is create as a partial view. So basically if you want to make a layout for the designing part, you can create a partial view. For an example, I'm having a login page and I want to create a design for the login page as a, suppose like master pages. So you can create that inside the partial view. So if you want to design the designing part, at that time you can create a partial view. We'll be look further on that. So now I may uncheck the use layout page, as I'm not having any layouts now available. So when we create a layout, we will be use that also. So now just add the view. So as soon as the view has been created, you can see that the folder name inside the views is same as the controller name is created, and now it contains a view called index. So this is how you can create the views and controllers. So let me add some short description inside the view. So this is the index page of the home controller. So I just added a short description. So let's add some more methods. So like we can add a public action result home. So I'm just adding another method, which is a home method, which will return the home view. So I'll be writing the return view, and let's just add the view. Right click on it, add view, just add on it, and we can see that another view is created, home view. So like this is the home page from home controller. So I have already written the short description of that, and now it's time to run the application. But before running the application, the thing we need to care about is we can also create the view bags and all those things. We will see it later. So let's run the application and see that does it executes or not, and if any errors are occur, we'll be solving it. So you can run the application by clicking on the green button on it, and then you need to run the application. So it will be run into your browser, and the first thing we need to notice is the URL. So let the process completes, and we will see the output on it. So we have set the default route for home and index, so we'll be looking the first thing we will be see is the home index, and if not, we'll be solve the errors. So here we can see that this is the index page of home controller. This is how it works. So we can see inside the app underscore start route config file, here we have defined that home and index. So by default it will call the home controller, and inside that it will call the index method. That's why we will be seeing the index page of the home controller. So let's make some little changes and see how it will works. So we'll be changing it to home slash and controller home and action home. So now it should be called the home controller inside home controller and the home method. So we'll be saving it, and we will be running it again. You can also use the control F5 to run the application, or you can use that GUI to run the application. So it depends upon you. So as soon as the process has been completed, we need to see what will be the output of this changes. So you can see that this is the home page from controller. So making changes inside the route config file will also affect your application, and this is how you can change the route for the default routing pattern for your ASP.NET MVC application. So let's move further, and let's see that how we can use the viewbag. So I'll be using a viewbag onto the index and home on both. So let's take a viewbag dot. So let's take a viewbag and store some small information inside it. So viewbag, and we need to specify the name of the viewbag. So I'll be name it as title is equal to, and the value inside that viewbag. So I'll be passing the value is, this is the uh, index title. So I'll be doing the same thing for home also. So let's do it here. This is the index title, and this is the home title. So we have made the changes inside that. So it's time to access the viewbag onto this. So I'll be taking a h2 tag, and I'll be putting some sort. I'll be using this razor syntax. We will also we can also use the razor syntax for form creation and all those things, but we'll be using the pure HTML here. So I'll be using the syntax, and viewbag dot the same name as you have used there. So we can write the viewbag dot title, and I'll be copying the same thing and pasting the same thing here. And let's run the application, and if errors are occurred, we will be solving it. So we have already run our application, and we need to see that what will be the output of the application. I was expecting the output that the title will be displayed, and then the short description we have written will be displayed onto the page. Yeah, the same thing. So we can see that we have stored the title inside the, we can see inside the controller that viewbag.title is equal to, this is home title, and we have accessed the same viewbag title inside our view. So this is how you can also pass the data from home controller to your view. There is also some of the other methods are available to pass the data from home controller to view, but this is the easiest way I have find to passing the data. So this is how it works. So we have already seen the creating the controllers, creating the views, and all those things. So now let's see the last thing, which is the area. So as we have already discussed that the area is a part which will be used to provide the separation between the users. So to create the area, right click onto your project and then simply add. Inside the add, you need to select the area and you need to provide the name of the area. So I'll be providing the admin, and let's add the area. So basically as soon as the processing has been completed, you can see that the areas folder is created, and inside that we have created an area called admin, and it has the separate controller model and views. So this is how you can use your project structure to be more efficient and more controllable. So this is how we can also use the traditional way to separation of the folders for the users. So now the same thing we can follow, just like right click onto the controller to add the controllers into the admin area. So we'll be taking the empty, and let me name it as something like home controller. So home controller, and let's we're already having the index method, so let's just create a view. So we'll be creating a view like index it will work. So we will be creating the index view, and let me write some short description here, just like this is the index view for, or we can say this is the index page of admin area. So now the question is that how will you access the admin area, and do you need to write the area slash admin slash or something like that, or do we need to write the admin slash or home or something like that? So that thing we need to care about. So let's start it and let's run the application, and let me show you that how you can access the area. So for the default routing we have already set for home and index. So let me run the application so I can show you that how we can access the area and the content inside that. So basically I have already selected the index of the home and index. So by default this is the executed, and this is how you can access the admin area. So if you want to access the area part, at the time you need to write down the area name, the controller name, and the view name, or you can say method name. So this is how you can also access the content of the area, and this is how we can work with the areas, controllers, views, and all those things. So I hope so you are getting the basic idea about creating the controllers, creating the views, and accessing the viewbag data inside the views, as well as creating the areas and also creating the controllers views for a particular domain, or we can say particular area. So that's all for this video, and we'll see you in my next video.